Hello, and welcome to the debut episode of the Backmarkers podcast. My name is Bradley, and I am joined by Jack and Luke in this weekly series where we delve into the news of Formula One. In today's episode, we will be going through the first half of the Formula One constructors, as well as a brief intro into who we are and how we got into F1. So sit back and have a listen to our ramblings. So, episode 1. I think the best place to start was for our season predictions, seeing as we're just about to start the new season. I think we've come off the back of, I would say it is the best season that I've watched.
Certainly, at least the best season for a while, anyway.
I mean, it's the only season I've watched.
Well, so by default, the best.
By default, the only full season. Can I add the only full season?
Should we explain? I think that would be a good start. Like how long we've been watching Formula One. Because I grew up watching it, and then when did Schumacher retire? Was it 2011 or 2012?
It was further ago than that. Oh wait, yeah, the first time and the second time. Do you mean?
It was 2006 and then 2012. I think
2012. So I finished watching in 2012 then, because I was sad that my boy was retiring. And then I think I am a fanboy and passionate.
At least you're a fanboy of someone like Michael Schumacher rather than Marussia Virgin Racing.
Well, that leads us on to the lovely flag I've got in the background.
That is the best Secret Santa gift you're ever gonna have.
To be honest, like best gift hands down, let alone Secret Santa. So,
ouch! I'm sure I've brought you some nice gifts before, Luke.
It doesn't live up to a Marussia Virgin Racing flag.
I gave you the gift of myself.
Right? That sounds a bit questionable, but we'll skirt on past that.
I flew all.
It's been 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and we're already making questionable content.
I flew all the way to another country to come and visit you, Luke. Not many people can say that. Okay?
That is true. I'll allow you that. And all I could give you was
I don't think we weren't close friends at that time, so I'm gonna escape myself.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Does it?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably makes it worse. But
we weren't even friends then.
But to be fair, I think Formula One is the reason, Luke, that we became friends. Because this was at the point where Jack wasn't watching, and I was kind of watching it on my own. And then I saw you were liking tweets and Instagrams and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, and we started talking about it.
Saw that Luke was a massive fanboy.
Fanboy.
Yeah. And I jumped on, we started talking. And the friendship blossomed. Oh,
so cute. But yeah, I mean, it was when I was when I was on my year abroad. Yeah, like I was watching the races by myself in the tiny kitchen of my flat, and I was like, well, I need someone to talk to about it. So, but then I've always been into it, as you say. Like, I mean, I grew up watching the sport. My mum and dad watched it, so me and my sister got into it. And then I think as Vettel's dominance started, my parents' interest kind of faded. I've always been the BAR Honda shirt. Always been a massive Jenson Button fanboy, and so
massive
I think
doesn't quite cover
you were going to mention him too many
times.
God,
yeah, like, I'm going to mention him at every opportunity. So
4 minutes and we've already got the big JB in here.
What can I say?
It's always like it's Luke's version of Gemma Collins. It's not the big GC, it's the big JB.
Exactly, big JB. So he got me into the sport, and then I think my parents' sort of interest waned a bit in it, but I carried on watching, especially through turbo hybrid era, and then I think probably since Jensen's retirement I never supported a particular driver, was just watching the sport for the sport. But now that I feel that has kind of changed, I've got a group of drivers that I'm a fanboy for, so I'm not going to go as far as saying...
You know what?
I'm not going to say I'm a Lando stan, because that means something else on Twitter, so that...
I don't think I could ever particularly fanboy a specific driver.
I mean, I don't think
No, not at all.
Never. It couldn't be you. I don't think
There's
I'll
two.
ever.
There's two, and they're both in this shot right now.
Yeah, you got Big Stoffel in the background.
Big Stoffel.
Did Fulham almost score?
Pascal Gross nearly hit a worldy free kick.
For context, Brad is multitasking here. He's got
Brighton Fulham are playing. It's a big game. Pascal Gross.
Well, when your team's
nearly hit a
relegation
worldie.
fodder, that is a big game, innit? So
Yeah, it's a big game if you're a fan of a small team, isn't it? Luke, when are we playing next?
Right.
yeah,
Right. Hang on. Let's roll it back. Luke, you go through managers like every day, probably. Jack, we nearly were level on points a few weeks ago.
And the wonders of Mikel Arteta strike again. What can I say?
It's a bit of a stretch, but
We have been saved by teenagers. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
by young players and a young manager. Without that, we would not be in a good place right now.
I feel like to nudge things back on topic.
Back to the actual topic.
Formula One.
So where were we? Luke.
Go on, Jack. Who are your drivers?
No, hold on. We were discussing how we got into Formula One, weren't we?
Yeah.
So Luke was saying how it veered off after Jensen. I don't know if Brad ever properly finished how he got out of and back into Formula One. So let's pick back up there.
I think I got in. It was the season Rosberg left. After, so 2017.
Yeah, I think that was Bottas's first season at Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah, 2017. I got back into it there. I must have watched a race and just fell back in love with it and realised why I loved it. The obsession grew and grew, and now it wants to be my job of being a sports journalist for Formula One. So you can tell that I'm
it's too far gone now. But yeah, I mean, it's well, you're saying about there being some good races that made you fall back in love with it, and that's something that they were fewer and far between, at least during the beginning of the turbo hybrid era. And then you're saying that this year was probably the best you've watched. So this year was there was so many good races. And also then the season before as well. Insane. I thought 2019 was a cracking season. And then, 2020 was just, blew us out of the water, really. Even though there wasn't a title fight.
And, no, exactly. Because 2019 is... Jack, you had watched a few, hadn't you? We were saying to you, you need to watch more.
Yeah, trying to get you back in.
Good.
Yeah. So I hadn't watched it.
Or was it 2018 into 2019?
I haven't watched any races in years. The last races I remember was when Lewis was at McLaren. So that's
a long old time.
When I first watched Formula One was similar to Brad with towards the end of Schumacher at Ferrari. Watched a bit of Lewis, but it was always just the odd race on and off. And then obviously last year, 2019, we started playing the brilliant, or maybe not so brilliant, Formula One.
I was about to say product placement, but that goes out the window with the not so brilliant comment.
Brilliant or not so brilliant, unnamed racing game that may or may not be linked to Formula One.
Yeah.
Have we got that one safe? Is that one good?
I think that one will be alright.
So we started playing that, and obviously that got me to sort of know a bit of selected tracks that I was able to drive on.
Silverstone, Bahrain.
It was Australia, Austria, Bahrain,
and Britain.
Britain.
That was about it.
Yeah.
That was all that we did.
And
USA.
Some things never change.
And that's all we did for about 6 months.
That coming into playing that game, obviously with you guys, combined with another thing that happened last year, which I just can't quite put my finger on. Something big that happened. I'm not too sure what it was that made everybody stay indoors and
other than
watch
panini.
TV.
I had no idea what he was on about there. Absolutely none.
So obviously with the whole COVID-19 thing, it didn't really give you much option to do anything but watch TV, and obviously with you two being fully engrossed in Formula One, I thought, why not? Like, there's nothing else to watch. So then I watched one of the best races of this season, I think. The first Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Well, Austria, not the Styrian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say that made me want to watch the entire season. So
Yeah.
it did its job.
I think also, like, I mean, any race would have been good at that point, but the fact that it was so up and down, like, it was the sort of perfect tonic.
Foolishly, I watched that race and thought, oh my god, anyone could win it this season.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
I mean...
But regardless of what Lewis did last year, it was an unbelievably open season in terms of races. I don't know if that I'm fully describing what I mean, but like...
No, that tracks, because like there were so many people that got on the podium, or I mean, there was unexpected race winners. Like that's the first time in a long time that anything like that's happened. So I feel
like you could kind of put out of your head the fact that you knew Lewis was going to win it because you didn't have a clue whatsoever what the rest of the field was going to be like.
Definitely.
Like, anyone,
the midfield battle being so close was like you disregarded the podium. And you just cared about that, to be honest. I did anyway.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the season.
Formula 1.5.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times it was...
And then they started sneaking onto the podium.
But the amount of times it was Max, Lewis and Bottas sharing a podium. I think it was like 11 times or something that combination shared the podium. But, like, it didn't matter because some of the best races and some of the best racing was in that midfield pack. I mean, even Abu Dhabi, which is a snooze fest track... there was still some really good racing amongst the midfield, like through that across the back straight, that area, the double DRS and everything. So like it had its merits even in a terrible race. Well, I don't want to say terrible race because I didn't actually mind it that much, but the track just doesn't promote good racing.
Do we even want to mention Sochi?
Sochi was just the main highlight.
The only thing I remember about Sochi is Sainz's crash.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only thing
I remember about the whole race.
Yeah.
I remember before the season started, Matt from WTF1, he was like, we have no right to complain about any race. Even a boring Sochi will be good. And then it came to Sochi and we were like, we had to wait too long.
I remember when they were announcing the calendar, we kept on. Well, we were speculating, being like, "Oh well, what could be on the calendar, or where might we go?" And then we kind of got the when the rumours started coming in about Sochi, it was like, "Oh God, no! Like, please, no, anywhere but." And then I think once it got confirmed, it was like, "Okay, like if we've only got this many races, like we've just got to enjoy what we've got." And also, like as bad races go. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't as catastrophically bad as, say, France 2019. Like, that was the worst race I've seen in my life. And, boy, have I seen some crap racing. So, like, it was...
To be fair, I feel like with Sochi as well this season, I think that it kind of suffered from what happened after it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact placement of where it was on the calendar, but I'm pretty sure... what happened with Gasly was after it.
I think it might have been Italy and then Russia or the other, whatever it was. Like, like it was in a run of good races.
After Sochi, I feel like the season just went from height to height, with the odd one-off.
That was quite obviously like the lull of the season, and. If 16 out of 17 races are good, that's fine. Like, I'll take a bad race.
Out of 17.
He's not having Abu Dhabi there,
great. Abu Dhabi
but I mean,
great.
saying it was a amazing season, and then probably one of the best races of my memory, at Sakhir, the Bahrain outer loop. Like that's I know we were all hoping for George to do well, being George Russell Simps. But like, I've never been I haven't been that invested in a race probably since the days of like Jensen winning his title, or like thinking, come on, like you could win this race sort of thing. Like I was so behind one person, which I've not done in so long.
it wasn't just the race though, was it, for Sakir? It was the whole build up. Like, it was the entire week was will George, won't he? Then he was in the car. Then it was he's too big for the car. What are they gonna do?
Wearing shoes that are too small.
He's gonna wear shoes too small when they're gonna stretch the car to its limits. That's what they're gonna do.
When did Lewis get like confirmed for COVID? Was it?
I want to say it was the Tuesday.
I think, it was Tuesday because then there was like overnight it was the will he, won't he, and he got announced like late Wednesday or Thursday, and like we all knew, like we all hoped that it was George.
I remember
and like notifications were on and everything like that going, I will like,
well, like it was like 7 a.m. or whatever, wasn't it? Because they said the night before they were like we'll announce something in the morning. So me and you were, I mean, see, Jack was up for work, but me and you had got woken up early to be like, let's have a look at Twitter. I remember lying in bed being like, oh my god, like, and then sending it to everyone.
Yeah. But like, it wasn't just George as well. Like, I think we're big fans of Jack Aiken as well. So when he got announced, I was like, I'm so happy.
He finally got the chance he deserved.
The whole build up,
and also the chance which he was normally
like
robbed
the build up to the race
by what's his name? Israeli.
Nasani?
Yeah, there we go. Like Roy Nasani is obviously, well, he's not as bad as people will make out, but obviously he brings a lot of money to the Williams team.
No,
he's normally the one getting those opportunities. Fair enough, the team needs money, but like it was good to see that it was it was Jack who got that chance.
They actually went with their reserve driver.
Can't say the same for Mercedes.
When he's actually called. No. But yeah, that race, like I was so invested. Like we're normally quite good on the group chat talking throughout the race. And then when it came to like it was just after Russell came out of the pits, but like after the safety car, and I was like, lads, I'm not gonna look at my phone. I can't deal with it. I just want to watch the race, and I haven't done that in so long. But like that's how.
Then we received a text saying, "I think it was just no in capital letters."
Repeatedly.
You'd stepped away from your phone, and then about
of
a lap later, you did come back.
Yeah.
It was about 5 laps where George Russell was doing an absolute madness.
Through the field.
And then he got his puncture, and I was like, I've never gone like that emotional like come down.
It was
so
the puncture
bad.
that did it. Like even the mess up of the pit stop when he came out. And you saw he was on the fresher tyres. He was definitely going to take Bottas just because of Bottas's tyre situation.
And then when he got Bottas through that,
that's because Bottas is stinky.
He was still completely gassed. Like I was still like, he can definitely still win this race. I was definitely still in the mood for it. It was as soon as they said, we've got a puncture. You need to box.
I just felt like the
come down
come out. Like ironic, seeing as he got a puncture. Well, fitting as he got a puncture. I felt all the air come out of me. I was like, Well, I feel that's a good place for us to start. And nice introduction to our sort of our viewing of F1, like our background into it. And we can should we do our 2021 predictions and then go through the teams? Basically, we're just gonna sort of have a chat about any news or things like that have come up during the off season up to this point about each team, and sort of some of it is going to be a bit gossipy because obviously it's still silly season, even though silly season should be finished. And it's January, we're in lockdown. Got nothing else to do other than speculate about Formula One.
There is not much else to do.
So,
Speculation. It's the season of speculation.
Luke, we could definitely be doing our undergrads.
Postgrads.
We could actually be doing work for our undergrads, but... postgrad. I keep saying undergrads. I
don't want to go back to my undergrad.
No. I don't even want to do my postgrad, really. Not really.
Gets to a point where you're like, you know what? Nah. I've been there setting up my assignment wall. Got post-it notes of when stuff's due, and it's looking at me right now. And I'm like, that's gonna be fun. So,
at least you've got a list.
Mainly because if I didn't have a list, I'd be going mad. So,
I feel like anything with the word grad in is
welcome
a bit
to
of
my
a
life.
at the moment.
Yeah. Right, let's get into this before me and Brad start crying about our degrees.
Right, let's start with Mercedes.
Yeah.
We may as well. They're the
reigning
the
champions.
double champs. Well, there's two big things. Is Hamilton going to resign?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because you would imagine, well, you sort of think that if he wasn't going to sign, that would have happened by now. But also, you think that if he was going to sign, that it would have happened by now. And I mean, there's a lot of speculation going around, especially amongst, like, well, a lot of it is coming from, like, the Italian newspapers, which have got a bit of a reputation with an F1 to play fast and loose with the rules. Not with the rules, with their news, sorry, and be like, okay, well, like, someone's neighbour's dog's cousin heard this, so we're going to report it. But, I mean, there isn't a contract on the table, and what are you, the 27th of January now? So the season's due to start in about 5-6 weeks' time. Well, longer than that, actually, because it's starting in Bahrain rather than in Australia. But still, we've got pre-season testing coming up fairly shortly, and the reigning world champion, the all-time greatest by the statistics racing driver, has not got a contract. So it's a strange one, to be honest. Like, you'd think they would have tied him down immediately, but there seems to be something going on. Apparently, it's there's a discrepancy of between 60 million and 40 million, or it might be to do with contract length. And actually, I was talking to my sister about this, and we were saying, is it that Lewis wants 2 years and Mercedes wants 1, or Lewis wants 3 years and Mercedes wants 2, or the other way around, that Lewis wants a shorter contract and Mercedes want to lock him down? You'd imagine it would be more so Lewis asking for longer if it is to do with contract length, because you've got to think that Mercedes have got an eye on George Russell to be moving up eventually. So,
but the issue is, I can't think of what the realistically of what the hold up is, because people can keep saying, "Oh, it's monetary, it's monetary." If I'm honest, I think Mercedes are paying whatever he wants to drive for them next year.
Well, I think what I read is that he's on like 40 mil or something like that. He's by far the biggest paid, and he's asking for a lot more, which I don't think he's really asking for that much more money. And even if he would, I think I know, but it's very easy for us to say here, like, obviously, you know, backseat drivers and all of that.
I see you plugging your the name of your blog there, saying backseat drivers.
Welcome to Backseat Driver presents the Backmarkers podcast. Go on, Jack.
With the money, I feel like it's, if you pay for Lewis Hamilton next year to be in the seat, you pay his contract, he wins the title. In my opinion, I don't see any way that he's not gonna win the title next year. So you've won the title, and you're almost guaranteed the constructors' title. So whatever you're paying Lewis, you're still gonna make a profit from that at the end of the year, like, without a doubt in my mind. And then the other side of it, of contract length, it's if Lewis does want 2 years, you give him 2 years, because if you really want George Russell, if that's the sticking point, you just replace Bottas.
Yeah, but they are worried about putting them against each other, though, because obviously if Bottas, say Lewis left and it was Bottas and George, then Bottas would expect to be number 1, but would be pushed at that point, and I think he would get absolutely trounced. Like, personal opinion, I don't rate Bottas all that much. He's not a bad driver.
Bottas is a good racing driver.
Yeah.
That's it. He's a good racing driver.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of the equivalent of a James Milner, really, in football, or like he's the colour beige as a racing driver. Like, nothing wrong with it. Just get it's satisfactory.
I mean, to be fair, we could even narrow that down to Formula 1. I mean, I know he's got, like, he's done rallying and stuff before. He may be better in that sort of field, but in terms of Formula 1, he's no. no, I don't know. I know he's done rallying before. I'm saying potentially he could be.
I'm sure
Better,
he's
but-
a good
See?
rally driver, but I don't think he's gonna win. Like,
No, he's not like an
the
undercover
WRC or anything
Loeb
like
or
that,
whatever,
but-
however you pronounce it. But like,
yeah, he's a solid
Hmm.
driver, but I think if you look at George Russell, who is earmarked to replace him,
yeah,
I think I know who I'd have. And not only that, there's also the age factor. Like, do you actually, like, Bottas is...
yeah. I think
30?
he might be 31,
31?
32 even. So
He's in his 30s. We'll cover that.
Yeah.
He's in
He
his
was
30s.
I thought he was a lot younger
let
than
me
what he
let me
is.
look it up.
But I think I forgot how long he's actually been
Man
in the
is
sport.
31 years old. He'll be 32 this
Because
year.
obviously he's been in... Like, George Russell is what, 22?
I think something like that.
21 maybe?
But the thing is,
like-
the
He
the Sakir Grand Prix just says it all. Like,
yeah.
George was in a car that was too big for him.
22. He'll be 23 this year.
He had 3 practice sessions. He had a couple of days to prepare for that, like psychologically, like to go and do what he did to Bottas. Like, without any of those situations that happened to Russell, he would have won that race
Comfortably.
and trounced Bottas.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't just this wouldn't have just been him beating Bottas by about 5 seconds.
Yeah, he
George
was.
would have like convincingly won that
Yeah.
race.
But that leads me back to why I thought
Yeah.
they won't put
And-
him and Lewis together, though. Because, as I was saying about him and Bottas, like the
Yeah.
fact that he would trounce Bottas, and whatever happens there's sort of a positive outcome. If Bottas becomes the team leader and wins the championship, I don't think any of us would see that happening. But if that does happen, great. If George comes into the team and, as sort of the new boy at Mercedes, like, steals the show, wins a title, then great. Either way, Mercedes are happy, because Bottas, he would be annoyed, yes, but he's been playing second fiddle to Lewis all this time. I don't think he would mind all that much. Or he obviously, like, it's not going to be like, oh, I don't care, but like, it wouldn't be as catastrophic. But say George comes in against Lewis and it unsettles the team, then you go back to having a Lewis-Rosberg situation. I don't think that would necessarily happen. I don't see it becoming like a rivalry and lots of animosity or whatever. But say that happens, then that forces Lewis out the door. And maybe eventually that'll be what they want, that get him off the books and take that money and use it elsewhere. But like, I just don't see Lewis and George being in the same team. I think when George makes that step up, I think it will be when Lewis goes, and all of this contract negotiation, whilst Toto has said he's not used George in the negotiations, and I believe that, but what I do think is that in Toto's mind, in these negotiations, he's thinking, well, I've got to keep George Russell in my mind, because I don't want to end up with another Esteban Ocon. And I know none of us are all that... Another spoiler for you guys, we're not the biggest fans of Ocon either, but they've let Verline go, they let Ocon go. They don't want to let George go because they know they've got a special talent on their hands, and that's why they put him in that Mercedes, to see as and when he'd be ready, and he's ready now. So they can't keep Lewis for 3 years, 4 years, or whatever, realistically, because, I mean, also I know Lewis has other projects he wants to follow, so that fair enough. Like his activism, he wants to pursue music, acting. Like, good on you.
He's a great
go
rapper.
and do
Great
whatever
rapper.
you want. Like,
He's got that team, that race, Extreme E.
yeah, Extreme E, yeah.
Extreme
Like
E.
he's diversifying.
I honestly thought that was esports for a long time. Like, it was only JB's announcement, and they showed his car. They showed like an actual car in the livery, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually a real thing." I generally thought that it was.
I mean, that is something
esports.
that I would be. I'm up for watching, not just because of Jensen, but like, it is a very intriguing concept. Isn't it? It's got.
Come on, Luke.
It's got
come
men
on,
and it's men and women driving. Like, you have a team together.
It's a brilliant concept. Completely, well, as eco-friendly as a car can be.
Yeah. But
And
that'll be something to watch, and also maybe that's a potential discussion at some point, sort of Formula E, Extreme E, things like that. And and our views on the
Yeah.
future. Well, that can be something we can do in the future. Our views on where the sport will be going and things like that. But yeah, I mean, he's
It's very interesting because today, Domenicali said that like Formula One doesn't need like
Yeah.
full electric. Like he said, the hybrid is
yeah. Well, because
like,
it's what
perfect.
it's what they want to. The teams don't want to make an engine. Well, Ferrari and Renault and Mercedes don't want to make a power unit that isn't applicable to the real world, and the hybrid technology is what
Yeah.
what is being sold at the moment, and that's why Honda came back to the sport to learn as much as they could about hybrid technology. They've learned all they want to know, and now they're leaving. So it's there's no need necessarily to go full electric, especially if you're going to bring in biofuels, which are they're going to, and actively pursuing being more environmentally. I don't want to say environmentally friendly because it's motor racing. We'd be kidding ourselves if we thought this was something that was like carbon neutral or whatever. But that's what they're aiming for, to offset what they're producing.
Yeah, and also it's the fact of making it as eco-friendly as you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
I mean, a lot of teams now are doing their best to offset the carbon that they are like using. So we're taking good steps. Arguably more can be done, but it's a thing that is like going. Like we're making steps.
Mm-hmm. What's the conclusion on Bottas then? What do we think?
Yeah.
I think this is a crucial year for him. He needs to step up and show that he can be an actual challenger to.
So overall,
Lewis.
for Mercedes, do we think Lewis and Bottas will be in the seats this year? Then
my head says yes.
Yes.
My heart says George has a chance, but he doesn't. Like that contract will be signed.
I just can't see Lewis not going for an 8.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got the chance of an easy title, and maybe that's the sticking point. Maybe he just wants to do one more year, and Mercedes think, well, if we're going to give you this amount of money, maybe we should do 2 years. Or maybe it's the other way round, that Mercedes want to give him a 1-year deal, and he wants a 2-year deal to try the new engine, try the new formula, and see what he can do in it. But Bottas has got to push Lewis this season, but I don't see it happening, because to beat Lewis you have to sacrifice so much. And like Rosberg, he drove with plain helmets to save like thousandths of a second. He took all the paint off to make. You have to search. You have to go right down to the bottom to get every ounce of performance out of your package and yourself. And Bottas just isn't going to do that. Apart from every now and again doing his "to whom this concerns,"
Which
it's
is
very
so
cringy,
tragic.
Especially when it was it Russia, when it was like "to whom this concerns." It's like, mate, this is your second victory in the most dominant, fastest car probably since. Yeah,
he's had 9 victories over his seat over the
that's
3
just
seasons.
not.
4?
I know Ferrari were a challenge during that time, but that's still not good enough.
Mate, Lewis won like 9
Exactly.
last year.
And unless
if not
he
more.
properly commits to doing
it's-
everything he needs to do, and having that Rosberg sort of mindset of, right, everything I do in my personal life, whatever it is pushing towards me beating Lewis. Unless he does that, then he won't ever stand a chance. And that's just not his personality. Like, and I don't want to make like sweeping statements about Finnish people, but Kimi as well. I would never see Kimi giving up absolutely everything in the pursuit of victory. I mean, Kimi was just naturally quick anyway, and that's how he achieved what he did and worked very hard. But if he was in Rosberg's position, well, he wouldn't have been, because it was more talent. You know what I'm trying to get at? Hypothetically, he wouldn't do the taking the paint off. He wouldn't search for those thousandths of a second. And that's what I mean. Now looking back, it makes sense that Rosberg retired, because he had given so much to achieve that, and it's like, I can't do it again.
He slept in a separate room to his wife for a whole year.
That's the other thing with Bottas is I think he's comfortable.
Yeah,
he's got a good life.
Well, I don't think he needs to push.
He's got a good life. He's paid well. He's in the quickest. Well, last season, the possibly quickest Formula 1 car of all time.
Yeah, like
It will be.
yeah, because they should be slower this year.
He's got everything. Obviously, we don't know his life inside out, but from the outside, he's got everything that he needs right now. Like he's in a comfortable position. He doesn't need to particularly push Lewis.
Yeah, and I think obviously he came into sport, and you come into Formula 1 because you want to win. But I just don't see him doing everything it takes. Like, it's not all or nothing for him. Whereas for some drivers, it is all or nothing. Like Rosberg was all or nothing. Like, he had to win that title. He had to beat Lewis. And I'm going to come across as like a Rosberg fanboy in this. Like, I was not a fan of Rosberg when he was in the sport. Love him as a pundit. He brings a level of realness.
He's one of the best pundits there is.
Him and Jensen, like, dream team as pundits because they work off it. Yeah, okay, third
Jensen.
time mentioning him, but like, yeah, like, wasn't a fan of him as a driver, but as a pundit, great. But like, yeah, like, you've got to be that committed, and Bottas just for me simply isn't. So, I think unless we've got more to say on Bottas, I think like a quick word about Ineos before moving on.
Yep.
Do you want to take that, Brad?
I mean, yeah, they're now 33.3% owners of Mercedes, so they're going to have even more branding on their car.
Which is a shame, because that was the nasty bit of the livery. The black livery is beautiful, and obviously a very important cause, Black Lives Matter. But like, it's which is an amazing thing to be doing. But like that bit at the top of Ineos, but which means there's gonna be more of that on it.
Not a fan.
Well, we'll see. That'll be another potential podcast episode looking at the new liveries. So watch this space.
We'll be looking at liveries.
Yeah, move on to Red Bull.
Should we move on to Red Bull? Biggest thing is going to be Perez. Is he going to adapt, and is he going to enable Max to be a title challenger this year?
Well, I don't think he's going to be good enough. Like, he's not going to have that much of an effect to make Max a title challenger, because that Mercedes is they stopped working on their 2020 car after like 6 races. Like that 2021 car. I know they weren't not really allowed to do much development, but that 2021 car is going to be polished. And you can
always do sketches, Luke.
Exactly. Well, they weren't allowed to work in it. They were still allowed to think about it. Their engineers at home could have a sketch pad and be like, oh, well, maybe this could work.
If you're sat at home with a sketch pad, you can design the 2021 car.
Well, exactly. Like, you bend the rules that way. So he won't affect the team enough to make them title challengers, unfortunately.
Look, he will bring a lot to the team. I don't think he's going to affect Max as such. I think Max is going to carry on doing what he's doing.
Especially as Max lives in his own bubble, really.
Yeah, he may enable... Having Checo obviously closer to him in the races may enable Max to push better for second place and beat Bottas to that. I don't think he's getting anywhere near Lewis this year. If Lewis is there. This argument is completely changed if it's not Lewis in the car.
if it's not Lewis in the car, then it might be George, and then I feel George and Max, that's a tighter fight, just because it would take it some adapting for George.
And,
but
just because of inexperience for George.
Yeah,
like, he's currently in the slowest car. He will pick up the fastest car.
Exactly.
It's gonna take time to fully adapt for an entire season. One race, fair enough, but
it's difficult to maintain a title challenge, and you've got to know what you're doing with that. Because I mean, I know the wheels fell off of the Ferrari towards the end of the season, but like Charles Leclerc, like not 2020, 2019, like Charles Leclerc had never been in that position, and there were mistakes, like at Baku, like was that Baku 2019 when he was like, yeah, I'm stupid, like that sort of thing, like it's an experience like that. So like if Lewis isn't there, it changes the discussion. But I do think that Perez will win a race next season, definitely. And to be honest, the move will be a success so long as he's within, I don't know, like 70 points of Max in the standings. Like,
what do we think about a possible return to Red Bull for Multi 21? What do we think that's going to cause?
I mean, it would. I think there will be something in Perez's contract that says that he is the number 2 driver, but I don't think it will be to the extent of Seb and Mark Webber or like Schumacher, Barrichello, like, because they've done that. Like, Alex was a clear number 2 to start with, and like he deserved better, but also his performances let him down. And we spent the whole season talking about it, being like, look, you know what? Like, at different points, it was like, this before that, like he's got to be going, like, and not because we wanted him to go, but looking from a Red Bull point of view of them always being brutal with their drivers, thinking, you know what, like, this result would be enough to get like Fiat gone, or this would have been enough for them to get rid of like, would have been enough to get rid of Gasly. And to be honest, I think a return of more than 2 podiums is good. Like, that will be good for Red Bull next season. If Perez, say, gets 3 podiums, they'll look at it and think, we made the right decision. Yeah. Because the cars are going to be similar.
It says a lot that midway through the season, we're all sat there saying, could Gasly replace Albon at Red Bull?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, obviously, this is before Gasly like committed to AlphaTauri, but the fact that the question of him going back was even a thing said all there was to all that we needed to know about Albon's performances, especially in the first half of the season, and then it tailed off. I mean, it never really got started, did it?
Yeah,
and it started in Austria and it finished in Austria. Realistically, this season.
The ironic thing being, Abu Dhabi was his best race. Like, I know it was 4th place, it wasn't a podium, but that was his best race of the entire season, and that was when Mercedes had turned the engines down just to get through. Yeah, okay, the Red Bull was the best car there.
Lewis was ill.
Like, Lewis shouldn't have raced that weekend. Like, and not just because I wanted George in there, but he wanted to prove the point to himself that he would be fit enough.
He just wasn't well enough.
Where did Albon finish in Sakir?
In Sakir, I think it was 6th or 7th or something.
Oh, we had a stinky race.
That's the main one.
That is a race that he should win.
Probably sealed the deal for him, if I'm honest, because he
and Turkey as well.
Lewis wasn't there. Max and Charles crashed out in lap 1.
Yeah.
If you can only get 7th.
Yeah, exactly.
Admittedly, George Russell played an absolute blinder in that race, but with Russell, Bottas, who struggled all race, and Sergio Perez as your only competition, if you can finish 7th in that,
you've got to be doing
it is the equivalent. It's the equivalent of Tottenham choking a 2-horse race.
Yeah, exactly. The Battle of Stamford Bridge, beautiful game that. We riled them.
Of course,
but it is. How could he not finish higher than 7th in that race? It's beyond the question. I don't understand.
Realistically,
I don't understand how he finished that far back.
Realistically, he could have won 2 races. Like, he could have won the Turkish Grand Prix. Like, and arguably, I don't think you can say that he should have won in Turkey, but he could have won in Turkey. Both Red Bulls were quick enough to win that race.
We're also saying he probably should have won in Brazil.
Yeah,
in 2019.
I mean, that one, I think, to be honest, that was. There's us saying we need to go through these quicker, and now we get into an in-depth debate about Alex Albon. But like, that Brazil race really knocked his confidence, because he was on. If he'd have won that race, he would have gone into 2020 on a high and been like, "Yeah, I'm a race winner."
Confidence is so important,
and I think especially for him, because he's
like, we talk about football.
He's a young person, like he's our age, like he's only had the one. I was going to make a comparison
to Arsenal's team.
Yeah,
like
I
was going to make a comparison to Arsenal's team. A bit young, a bit out of no confidence. You perform badly, but if you string a few results together,
exactly.
Look at Arsenal now; they look a good team. That's what Alex Albon needed.
Yeah. But Red Bull couldn't give him that opportunity. They couldn't just sit around for another season to let him try and put these results together.
Yeah. The thing is, though, it's with you say if he'd won in Brazil, I mean, he should have won in Austria as well.
Yeah. He could have been a back-to-back race.
He would have retired, though. He would have retired.
There is the question of, had he won in Austria, what would that have done to his season? I still personally think it would have gone a similar way.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been some better results here and there, but I mean, that second Red Bull seat is a poison chalice.
when we talk about confidence, like if you can start the season, first race of the season with a win,
yeah,
it could have been a game changer.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially.
Like the second Red Bull car is not the same as Max's, and that was we've all known that, and in fact that was an actual fact this year that the parts were put onto Max's car first, and that Alex's car was genuinely different. But even a second string Red Bull should be doing better. So, and every bad result just knocked his confidence, because these discussions that we're having now were going on during the season, being like, and then Perez being on the market, like, and then going on to come second in Turkey, win a race. Like, you kind of thought this has to happen. So, but
coming back onto Checo, so where do we think he's gonna like match up to Albon and Gasly, their performances in the Red Bull car?
I see.
Do we think he easily outperforms what both of them have done?
Definitely for Alex. And then
my boy.
I do think that Checo he's deserved this chance to be in a race-winning car, like a legitimately race-winning car. Because obviously, the Racing Point won the race this season when the Mercedes fell apart. Like, it was a very quick car, but like under normal circumstances, it's not a race winner. So like, he's deserved the opportunity. Yeah, like
the Racing Point did not win a race on pace alone.
Exactly. Like, so. Like, he's always deserved that chance to have a title-winning car. Well, a race-winning car, because the Red Bull's not going to be a title-winning car. But, like...
And he should have
when he made the move to McLaren, that's what he was expecting. But they decided to go from the 2012 car, which was fast but unreliable, thinking, you know what, let's just completely redesign it. And that was awful. Like, and, yeah, he became He was, to be honest, the first McLaren scapegoat. Which, that can lead us on nicely to our discussion about McLaren. Like, he was the first McLaren scapegoat. In 2013,
what a segue.
The car was rubbish. They'd lost Lewis Hamilton, and they needed someone to blame. Who do they blame? Oh, well, Perez, he's a dangerous driver. He's unpredictable. He's not getting the most out of the car. Jensen's a level head and is going to get the most out of it, this, that, and the other. He becomes the scapegoat there. And then it's, when the McLaren Honda comes along, we've got, the first season of Turbo Hybrids, being like, we've got a good car, but you can't win as a customer team. And then taking McLaren Honda, we've got the best chassis, but the engine's letting us down. And then getting the Renaults and suddenly the Renault engine, and suddenly realizing actually no, the car isn't good and the engine wasn't good, but it wasn't just Honda to blame. And then that's sort of led to the restructuring that we see now with Zach leading the charge and Seidel as trackside. I know Zach goes for all the races, but you know what I mean, being their version of Christian Horner or Binotto, whatever. Like, it's suddenly the culture has changed, and that's a reason why their results have improved. But he was, to be honest, if you look back, I think he was the beginning of that culture, being like, we've got to blame someone, blame the driver this time.
Well, their culture changed, and we now all support. Like, we all like McLaren. Jack's got a Lando
and a picture of Stoffel Van Dorn.
I can see your McLaren hat in the background. I've got Daniel Ricciardo's hat on. Like, we all actually care about McLaren now. Which
exactly.
Years ago,
when. The only reason I was never a McLaren fan even. I definitely wasn't a McLaren flan, but yeah, like, I was never a McLaren fan, but I was rooting for them because they had Jensen and Lewis, and then it was Jensen, and then for better or for worse, I quite liked Alonso. That has waned a lot. That waned over the McLaren Honda.
We'll get onto that. So, get onto that.
But now, they are my team. They feel like one you can get behind.
Yeah, and now especially because they got Lando and Ricciardo. Like, I'm so happy with that.
Yeah, and I feel as though those two drivers are sort of like a way that you can view as you said, the new culture at
Oh
the team.
God, yeah.
'Cause the way that those drivers are, I think, represents the way the team is now.
Yeah, like fast, ruthless, but also with a smile. Like, I mean, they call Danny Rick the honey badger for a reason. Like, he is. If there's a sniff of an overtake, he will go for it. Gets called the smiling assassin. Like, it's a friendly team, but they are committed to bringing McLaren back to the top, and you see that with all of the investment opportunities that they've gone for in terms of getting more capital from the Bahraini investors, securing the new investment from the USA, then selling or trying to sell the technology centre and leasing it back. They are committed to making sure they survive the pandemic, which, fingers crossed, like knock on wood, like hopefully that ends quickly and all the teams survive that. But also, it's not just about that, it's about getting back to the top and getting back to being able to win races. And
do you think they're going to win a race this
it would
season,
have to be a right place, right time victory. They're not going to be quick enough. Obviously, they came third last season, but they had the fourth fastest car. The racing, and at some circuits, they had the fifth or the sixth fastest car. Like, I mean, in Italy, they had the second fastest car. Like, they were the challengers to Mercedes. But it would have to be a right place, right time result. But with the Mercedes engine, being McLaren Mercedes again, they're in with a fighting chance. If they are they've got everything in place to be in the position to pick up a victory, like Perez's or like Gasly's. If something goes catastrophically wrong, crazy race, they've got the pace. They'll have the pace, I think, to do that, to pick up a win. But I don't see it happening this year. But to be honest, this season is just about adapting to being, because it's the MCL 35M, for the Mercedes engine. It's about adapting to that transition, developing the new powertrain and the gearbox and everything, because obviously
they fired out their engine for the first time today.
Yeah, I got a notification of that through.
That was it. Was it.
I saw that there was a video came through from McLaren's YouTube page.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, they've announced the car. Because the video, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
Clickbait there.
I don't know why I was expecting that quite so much, but like, I don't know. I was sat at work and I was like, oh my god. But
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't see him winning a race, but it will be a good season.
Jack, do you see them?
As Luke said, under normal circumstances, no. If a race is completely turned on its head and, say, I don't know, for whatever reason, Lewis isn't there, or has a penalty, if Bottas has a nightmare, like if all the stars align, they can. If they're up there properly battling, because let's be honest, this year them getting third in the constructors was an outside chance.
Yeah, exactly.
They absolutely smashed it towards the end of the season, but it was an outside chance of happening. They have to be pushing for third place this year.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
the Mercedes power unit.
They've got
they
to
now
be.
They have the same power unit as Racing Points, so they have to be pushing to be racing the Racing Points. Well, not the Racing Points anymore, I should say.
Aston Martin.
They have to
Aston Martin.
They have to be racing the Aston Martins every single race.
Yeah.
They can't be dropping back.
Exactly. I think that's the important thing.
If they're in that right position, sort of fifth or sixth, a safety car, a penalty, like something could cause them to win a race.
Yeah. And also,
I think under regular circumstances, they're not going to win a race, but fingers crossed.
Well, I think to add to that, like
I disagree. Daniel Ricciardo's going to do a madness.
That if
Daniel
Rick
Ricciardo
Bobby was in Sainz's car, then McLaren would have won the Italian Grand Prix. Like Danny Rick would have got Gasly, especially
Carlos spent too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind Lance Stroll. No, it wasn't Lance
Well,
Stroll.
he had Kimi in front of him.
He got past Kimi pretty quick though.
Yeah,
It was whoever was behind Kimi.
Yeah, it might have been Giovinazzi. He spent too long behind that car, and he didn't close down Gasly enough. It literally was. Yeah. If he had that lap, the final lap, he would have got past him into the first corner.
Yeah.
And he would have won that race because they were lining
Yeah,
on,
exactly.
on the straight. He spent too long trying to get through the backmarkers.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what cost him.
He
Daniel
would
Ricciardo would have made those overtakes.
He would have made the move at the first opportunity. So, I mean...
But, once again, that race was, as we're saying, it was exceptional circumstances for them to be in that position.
Definitely, right. So, you think that he'll win a race, then?
So how many podiums do we reckon they'll get?
Oh, that's a good question.
As a team.
So they got...
Because Lando got 1 and Sainz got 2.
So 3 then.
Carlos got...
3, I think.
What did Sainz get?
Did Sainz get 1 or 2?
He's got 6.
Well, he obviously got... He definitely got Italy.
I thought Sainz got 1.
But...
Let's have a look.
I don't know.
I think he got 1 in Brazil, and that's what I was thinking of.
They definitely got 2.
I know they got loads
They
of top
definitely got
5s.
We know they got 2.
Okay, he got 1 podium last season at Italy.
Okay, so 2 podiums for McLaren last year. They've got to do better than 2.
I can see them getting 3 or 4.
5 or 6.
Okay.
I think 5 or 6, and I think Daniel Ricciardo gets a win.
I'm going slap bang.
That is my bold prediction of the year.
I'm going on 5. 5 podiums. The majority third places when something happens to one of the front 3. But
yeah.
5 podiums I'm going with.
See, it kind of, the discussion here is linked between Red Bull and McLaren then. I do think that with Perez in that Red Bull seat, the opportunities will be fewer and far between for the midfield because, under normal circumstances, Perez is easily a good enough driver to bring home that Red Bull in P4. Under normal circumstances. Obviously, there's still going to be the crazy races, hopefully. Hopefully we get some of those topsy-turvy races that have us on the edge of our seat this season. And if we do, then in with a shot. Definitely in shot of podiums, in with a shot of the win.
Depending on how Red Bull closed the gap over the winter.
Yeah. Oh, we've been waiting on that to happen for years now.
No, I know, but just playing devil's advocate, it could be Checo and Max on the podium with Bottas out in 4th. It's a possibility.
Right. Well, that's also, I think, one of the reasons why they went for Perez, because it gives them a better chance of knocking, especially on a bad day for Bottas. Who knows what a Bottas bad day looks like, because most of them are bad. But, really going in on him. But, that's probably one of the reasons why they went for Perez, because he's got a better chance at beating Bottas. If Perez is having a good day and Bottas having a bad day, he will beat Bottas. And that's another reason, I think, why they made that move. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aston Martin.
Let's move on to
Aston Cognizant Racing.
Let's try and get through these a bit quicker because we have been waffling. Main thing is Seb Vettel coming back. Career revitalisation. I think this is going to be a good move for him. He needed a good atmosphere because Ferrari sucked.
I mean, have you seen the photos of him today having his seat fitting?
I used to. I didn't really like Seb.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us did.
I remember us being at back during the Vettel dominance era. I remember the few people that I talked to Formula 1 about at school. I remember moaning about Vettel, being oh gosh, there's another victory or another really boring race, and it was just kind of it was easy to dislike him. But then when he moved to Ferrari, he was leading the fight back. And it just felt right to start with. And it felt nice to support him. And then just last season there were a lot of mistakes from him, but the situation just was completely wrong for him. And 2019, his title challenge 2018-2019, title challenges fell apart because of mistakes from Seb. The whole Spinala meme. So he does need a career revitalisation, and I'm happy. I want him to do well, but I don't expect him. Obviously, he's not going to hit the heights of his world championships in an Aston Martin to start with. But I don't see him becoming the driver that he once was. In terms of, I genuinely still think he's got a mistake in him. And
his best days are behind him.
Definitely, but I mean, is as long as he gets good points finishes and maybe 1 or 2 podiums, he'll be happy with that. Like, because obviously,
but let's be honest here. He's
Yeah.
going to absolutely trounce his teammate for the entire season.
yeah, like I
Yes. I have never been so
Like,
much more confident
Literally.
than
yeah.
Seb
But
is
like,
going to
I'm
ruin
trying to
Stroll.
keep myself sort of, I don't want to say grounded with my expectations with Seb. Like, I want him to go in and like show Stroll up and like drive that Aston Martin team forward, and that's why they went for him, to drive the team forward, having a proven race winner, a championship winner, all that experience, help build this team up, because obviously under their different guises over the year, Force India, Racing Point, even all the way back to when they were Jordan, like this team was and if my memory serves me correctly, it was Spiker at one point as well. Like under all of these different guises. Yeah, Midland. I
And
stopped myself saying
Midland.
Midland because I remember Midland, but I didn't want to commit to that. So,
you were right.
Like under all of these guises, they've not had the facilities, the staff. They've worked on a shoestring budget, and when they were Force India, they were coming 4th in the championship, like towards the end of the Force India era, and they were pound for pound the best Formula 1 team. And now there is investment, obviously, with Stroll coming in and saving the team. And I mean, I think that's one reason why we don't. I mean, obviously, Stroll's not our favourite. I don't think we begrudge him as much as we might do, because he did like his father rescued that team. And you know what? If your dad's a billionaire and he rescues a Formula 1 team and you're a Formula 1 driver, or you're a racing driver, it happens. There are.
He also, I think he showed last year that he is very, like, he warrants the seat. Like, yes, he got it because of his dad.
Yeah,
but
he just
he
needs
is
to
still a
get
good
more
driver.
consistent. Like
You have to be
he's
at this level.
You see,
That's his
I
problem.
do question that one. Like
Okay.
you've got here in the notes that Stroll showed that he belonged. Are we saying he
Yep.
was more consistent than Albon last year?
like
Because-
his highs were higher.
His highs were higher, but
Why are we so shit?
what?
Put it in the net.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
his highs were higher.
I think I've done well. But that was the only time that I've been like, oh my god.
His highs were higher, but like
Okay, sorry.
with I can't remember which race it was that he crashed out in, and he took that massive shunt against the wall.
Magello, yeah.
Magello.
He was sort of gaining some traction before that, but
Yeah.
after that, he just didn't look like he could drive a Formula 1 car.
I
Bar
mean,
Turkey,
yeah.
can I say? But even then, I can't remember exactly what issues there were with the car or whatever happened after the pit stop. But even then, it fell apart for him.
well, so Turkey, there was damage to
With
the
that,
car.
it was.
Yeah, so it was
Sorry,
aerodynamical. Lovely voice crack there. Let's try that again. In Turkey, there was aerodynamic damage on it, and so the tyres were overheating, and so the intermediates were graining, and it just. I mean, it was the wrong strategy, and the car was damaged, which ensured it was the wrong strategy. But before that happened, he was 10 seconds
slick
ahead,
to medium was
and that
the
was 10
best.
seconds ahead
Yeah.
of Perez. Like, that race for me cemented him belonging in Formula 1, because you've got to be, I mean, he's always been good in the wet. If you think back to, I've forgotten which year, but Monza, I think maybe 2018, he put a Williams in 3rd place. Like, because his driving style, I remember reading articles about this at the time, was the fact that his driving style, which worked in Formula 3, or maybe it's Formula 3000 he was in, whatever junior formula he was in, he did a lot of trail braking and things like that, and there was overlap between his throttle and brake inputs. And Williams said that he was struggling to not do this in a Formula One car, and that's why the transition was difficult. And obviously, the Williams was a boat, and so it just didn't suit him. But in the wet, that didn't matter because he could get every ounce of performance out of it. And so, like, he just needs to find consistency. I don't think he's not world champion material. No way. He could pick up maybe if he is. Thing is, like, out of the two, Seb's more likely to pick up the lucky victory or the lucky podium or whatever, or maybe the on-merit podium. We don't know what the car's going to be like. But I don't see Stroll ever becoming a race winner. But also, he's going to be in the sport for a while. All the time his dad owns it, and Aston Martin's still going. So he'll have lots of opportunities. And if that team gets built up and built up and built up, and he grows and learns from Seb, which I'm sure he will, then maybe one day he'll be a race winner. But he belongs in the sport. He's too inconsistent. Like,
just one last one on Aston Martin. Relationship between Stroll and Seb. How do you think it's going to go?
Very polite in front of the cameras. Behind closed doors might be a different story.
I feel like Seb's going to get to the point where he's like, well, I've been around this sport long enough. Like, I'm coming in here to be the team leader. That's what you're paying me to do. But yeah, for the media, Stroll is very sort of polished, media trained sort of deal, and Seb, when he wants to be, is if the environment's right, then yeah, publicly it'll be fine. But I don't see them rubbing each other up the wrong way per se. I just think that Stroll's not going to be all that pleased about playing second fiddle at times. But I mean, it did seem towards the end of last season that he kind of accepted the fact that, like, he wasn't, like, nailed on, like, he wasn't untouchable. Because I mean, when they were talking about Seb coming in and Perez or whatever, and I was like, well, I don't know, like, my dad might decide to go for another driver, like, kind of jokingly. But, like, I feel like he's gained a bit of humility this season. I mean, I still thought he was a complete idiot for ruining Lando's race in Portugal. Haven't forgiven him for that, but, like, it's one of those things. So, we've got the Alpine. The entity formerly known as Renault. And to be honest, I think this is the biggest, maybe one of the biggest stories is with Alpine. The rebranding, obviously, but Alonso coming back, and then the backroom team. Well, not even backroom team, really. There's been a lot of changes.
No, yeah, he's just that. So Davide Brivio, he's coming in from Suzuki, from MotoGP. He has led them from strength to strength in the last few years because they were just a bit of a mess.
Like, because I mean, before they
they've got a really
because they were kind of and then they pulled out the sport, and then they came back, and he was tasked with turning them into a winning outfit and
title winners, and he did, and he did. Yes, it was a questionable season, but he still did it. But yeah, I think Alonso coming in is. I'm not the biggest Alonso. Well, no, I used to like Alonso, but I don't think I would have rather seen other people.
Definitely,
in that
there's a long list of people that I would prefer.
I don't know who that would have been.
So I mean, Guan Yu Zhou, he wasn't ready. So
he wasn't getting that.
No,
he wasn't
like
I feel like the most likely scenario potentially would have been if Alonso hadn't signed on early, them trying to take Gasly, as we said before, and then Alex Albon would have gone down to AlphaTauri to partner Yuki. Yeah, I reckon, but that's not what we've got. No, we've got Fernando in the young driver test.
We got Alonso.
The most ridiculous.
I don't think Alonso's getting a podium at all. No,
I don't think so. It does depend on the car.
Yeah.
The Renault was very good last year. It was a very good car.
I don't think he's going to be that fast, though.
It was a very good car in the hands of Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, like also it was very circuit dependent, and that's what let them down in the fight for third, fourth, fifth, and that was the reason why they were fifth out of that group, because some weekends they were struggling to get into Q3 and were battling for ninth and 10th, the bottom end of the points, and then other weekends it was the third fastest car on the grid. And I mean, Danny Rick was doing wonders in it and has got the podiums to show that. But it all depends on whether they can iron that out, because that was one of the keys to McLaren's success, that it was a car that worked in most places. And if they can, if Renault, well, if Alpine can find, we're going to be doing that all season, correcting ourselves over Renault, Alpine, whatever. But
I've already been doing it with Racing Point and Aston Martin.
Well, exactly.
The entire time. So
yeah, it's going to be a difficult one to keep tabs on. But like, yeah, if the car's decent, if it's a more balanced car that works in more circuits, then I think he might pick up a podium or two. But I do think that McLaren will make a step forward. Aston Martin are bound to make a step forward because they're now a works team. So there's going to be fewer opportunities for them, but
Lewis Dong just saved it on. Oh, Lewis Dong just saved it on the line in the last minute. My heart.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean,
Throughout all of that talking, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I wasn't really listening. I'm just gonna cut to me at random points going.
oh man. But
Oh,
I was listening, Luke. Don't worry.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Lewis Dong,
I
you're
do
beautiful.
think that they're making the right
Sorry, lad,
moves,
sorry.
and it's a longer term project. This one,
Yeah.
McLaren
This-
are further ahead in their project. Aston Martin.
This is exactly what I was about to say. It's a long-term project, which really begs the question: why Fernando Alonso?
Yeah. But I mean, as you said about Gasly, like Gasly's not available at the moment. Like,
No, he's not. But he could have been. He didn't sign that extension with AlphaTauri until after Fernando Alonso had signed on with Renault.
yeah. I mean, I think, to be honest, Renault, as they were at the time, because that was before we knew about the rebrand, I think they thought Fernando's available, and the story this would create, in fact, he wants to come back and he can help develop the team, and maybe they had an eye on it being rebranded, like with Seb going to Aston Martin, like someone to, and I think maybe Seb going to Aston Martin might, or the potential of that might have been something they were thinking about as well, being like, you know what, like we need to have our version of Seb and rebuild this team and go from there. But I think Gasly's the long-term future of that team, definitely.
Also, like looking forward, obviously, they're thinking about designing 2022's car. Like that. That's
Yeah.
what's got to be on all of the teams' minds right now. So it swings and roundabouts, really. Do you get a driver who's gonna help you develop the car in terms of Fernando Alonso, but not potentially drive the car for a long time, or do you go for a driver who can help develop the car less than Fernando could, but will be at that team for a while to drive that car?
Which,
Because right now the situation realistically, I know we keep using Gasly as the example, but you've got Fernando developing a car for Gasly.
Yeah, I mean,
It's when does that make sense?
that is a good question, yeah. And like, because there isn't anyone really in that Renault Young Driver Academy that is a standout driver. We all thought if Guan Yu doesn't win Formula 2 this season, then
His chances.
are gone.
realistically.
Like, and to be honest, I think his chances are already gone. Maybe Lundgaard. I think Lundgaard's the most likely to make the step up for them, but I see that being a replacement for Ocon. I think maybe that team in maybe 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Obviously, Alonso's got a 2-year contract. I think Ocon's got 2 years left on his deal. I think it becomes Gasly and Lundgaard. Definitely not. I mean, the only reason they went for Ocon was because he was available. Mercedes were willing to let him go, and why would Mercedes be willing to let him go? Like, they could have found a way to make him work. They kept him around, obviously, as a reserve driver for a year, but they could, if they believed in him that much, then Bottas would have been out the door. Like, I know that's not really the Mercedes way of doing it, but if he was that good a talent, they could have done that. And so, yeah, Ocon's not a team leader. I think he will be the one to be replaced by Lundgaard, and then when Alonso retires for good, then they will throw everything they can at Gasly, especially because it really hurt Renault, especially in the French press. Like, it really hurt them that it was Gasly who was the one to break the run of something like 20 odd years, 28 years or something like that without a French victory. Like, it really hurt their image, especially as Renault are part owned by the French government. Like, and it was an Italian team with a French driver doing it. Like, that, they felt that it should have been them, and also it could have been them if they'd played their strategy better that day. Like, as Ocon says in that team radio at the end when he's told by Cyril to shut up. Like, but yeah, it's a difficult one, but I don't think they get a win. They'll pick up some podiums, I guess, is what I think. One or two.
I don't personally even think that, if I'm honest. I don't think they're going to get a podium. I mean, potentially, if the right circumstances, but I think it's very slim because, as I said, if it's the right circumstances, Aston Martin or McLaren.
It started already.
Aston Martin or McLaren are going to get on the podium in the right circumstances.
Yeah, like,
I think Ocon would get more podiums.
The only thing they've got to hope for is that, being the only Renault supplied team, they've got to hope that that means that all of that focus, all of the engineers that were working with McLaren are now fully focused on the Alpine project. But
right, Bradley here. That covers the first half of the field for our 2021 preview. Join us in the next episode where we look at the remaining teams. Thank you for giving the pod a listen. If you're liking what you're hearing, give the pod a like and a follow. Any feedback would be lovely. So tweet us your thoughts and let me know if you agree or disagree with what we're saying. Our Twitter is in the description. Thank you for listening and have a nice.